Hello everyone, my name is Joanna Gavilanes and I will be presenting on my final paper that is based on the World War II campaign. My critical analysis and argument is that media propaganda in relation to persuasion and formation of public opinion has existed as far as back as World War II and in today's 20th century. Both eras have successfully exercised and displayed their influence of propaganda and persuasion through artistic representations like Rosie the Riveter and We the People. The artistic approach. Propaganda is an art requiring special talent, meaning that propaganda has an artist who visions and artistically designs an artistic representation that holds a specific meaning and purpose for an intended audience, which is done through careful consideration and strategic measures in order to fulfill what is being communicated. Norman Rockwell created the first Rosie the Riveter, and some things that I noticed immediately was in the background you have the American flag, so there's some sort of attitudes and beliefs of perhaps patriotism. And then at the bottom, Rosie the Riveter is stepping on Hitler's Mein Kampf, which was a book written by Hitler, and he basically has different guidelines and propagandist ideals for his citizens to follow. And Sun Arena is obviously Rosie the Riveter, who's representing maybe this feministic icon or model for women who at this time were very important because men were being drafted into World War II. So we also see the contrast of how the United States feels about Germany. Clearly, we are not in favor of it, and we are promoting American ideals and propaganda. So Rosie the Riveter was first designed and advertised by Norman Rockwell, who had gained influence after hearing the song Rosie the Riveter by James Kincaid Kaiser. His work appeared on newsstands, different medias, and many other public platforms. And one strategy that I saw was being used was political propaganda, which is when a group like a government uses techniques or influences to achieve political goals that are often clear and precise. And I think in this one in particularly is the division between the United States and Germany. The United States wants all citizens to promote and support our military and our women because during this time we are battling in a really big war against Germany, whose ideals are nowhere close to the American ones. So in this case, media was being used as a tool to sell war bonds, use women as sources to create promotional videos, and keep the societal norms between men and women during a time of war where there's chaos, through changes, and influences. J. Howard Miller created a prototype of Rosie the Riveter, and in this artistic representation, I also noticed that the American colors are present: red, white, and blue. Blue found in her uniform, red and white with the bandana and pink polka dots. And also in white is the phrase "we can do it," followed with an exclamation point, meaning strong emphasis. Her left arm is holding up her right sleeve, showing her flexed muscles, a sign of strength. Her face implies that there's some fierceness and some, I guess the best way to describe her face is saying that there's a problem that exists or some sort of obstacle that is waiting to be confronted, because she's not smiling. It's not something that's subtle. There's something definitely up to confront. So the prototype of Rosie the Riveter by J. Howard Miller, who was influenced by Norman Rockwell's original version of Rosie the Riveter, used it to boost morale amongst employees. So he created a promotional poster for employees, and he also created a promotional video. So majority of his employees were women, being that they were the mass population at the time working at shipyards and factories and in his own company. So, one thing that I found here was the sociological propaganda, which is when there's an attempt to influence a certain individual so that they assimilate to dominant economic and political ideologies of a society. So in this case, women were being sociologically motivated based on what societal norms were, but at the same time, we're simultaneously moving the agenda a bit because during this time, the feminist movement took place. So you have women kind of modeling for society, but at the same time questioning and saying to the government, like, what about us? Like, we want to be accounted for and we want to change things around. And surely and slowly they did. Shepard Fairey created We the People series. So these three women were the main three, although there is some other images that he created as well. Uh, Here we still have the red, white, and blue. So we have the American ideals, and yet we do have women, just like in the previous two posters were women. So in this one's a little different because we have women of different races, and we have these women who represent different lenses and perspectives and some sort of issues. So Shepard Fairey's. So Fairey's posters, We the People, were created as a response to President Donald Trump's inauguration as a form of protest to his inappropriate attitudes and poor description of women. According to Amma Rose Ant's article titled Shepard Fairey Releases We the People series to protest Trump, Fairey stated, "We thought they were the groups that had been maybe criticized by Trump, and maybe we're going to be the most, if not necessarily vulnerable in a literal sense, most willing that their needs would be neglected in a Trump administration," Fairey told CNN. So he's using mass media through a forum like CNN where it's majority conservative, and he's bringing a liberal and social response and attitude. So we see like the different perspective and lenses being compared, and his art representing these propagandist ideals. And so he continues his activism through his wear. So propaganda is active through his wear, artistic representation, and constant current contemporary activism. So it's not only found in his wear, he's found in mass medias, he's doing it in different times and spaces, buildings, locations. Mass media, public opinion, propaganda, and persuasion. So in propaganda and persuasion, testimonial consists of having a respected or hated person say or represent a given, constructing it as either good or bad based on the experiences or history that is already known. So in all three posters, we see that women are the model, yet men are holding the authority and power. Yet women are the ones who are supposed to be modeling, but being are affected very gradually. And I guess in some sense they're good, but they're also displaying the bad history that's behind those pictures and why they're being used in the first place. Collective memory can be propaganda practice to influence the present with references to the past. So if we look at Shepard Fairey's We the People poster series, to some degree, there are some influences or references to the past. And we can even look at it through the Rosie the Riveter original and prototype pictures where women are being represented, yet behind all of it, they're expected to do the most in society because men who are holding the throne are in different times and places doing different things that are affecting society, the government, and all these different kinds of values. So women who are impacted have the chance to make a difference with the future or present issues, but in doing so, subconsciously or consciously include references to the past. So my conclusion is that all posters share a commonality of where men of authority and politics affect the attitudes and perception of women and the general public, but seek resistance through an artistic propaganda representation that presents an image that speaks more than 1,000 words and whose words develop different meanings and lenses. All three posters display certain strategies, methods, and components of propaganda and persuasion for different times and spaces. So that concludes my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Here's my works cited, and that's it. Thank you.